Good morning, AYS. What is happening? What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? We are live. We are live on this Monday morning edition uh, of AYS. Still out of power, still having to do the shows remotely via the phone, so bear with us. We got a lot to get into today, though. Um, just a heart-wrenching, very crazy game. Let me first off, and I'll get to all the comments. Let me first start off by saying I did not see that coming. I did not see LSU going to LA and taking the beating that they did, especially on the defensive front. Now, we'll get into all of the game and we'll get into it. There's a lot to talk about and break down. A lot of blame going to places where it's not that it shouldn't go, but I think that we got to explain a lot of this about last night because there's a lot to break down, a lot to talk about. So we'll get to the comments and we'll talk about this as it goes on. But everybody, do us a favor. Since we are still remote, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to some Facebook groups. Share, if you're on YouTube or Twitter. Well, if you're on YouTube, subscribe for us. Share to your social medias. If you're on Twitter, hit the retweet. We greatly appreciate it. Trash Boat said this should be good. Well, I hope it's good. Dakota says it's really sad. Trash says it really was watching that game. Kenny Russell says Blake has to be fired. We saw last night is a trend the last few seasons. Well, last few seasons of what? I mean, if you're talking about few seasons, okay, you're talking about 19. Let me say this. Because a lot of people are coming to me saying, well, Blake, you stuck up for Orgeron and this, that, and the other. I have proof on multiple videos and multiple shows that I said if the time comes where Ed is getting out-coached on the field and has to get fired, then so be it. Can play the audio, can play the video, we can go there. What I said was that Ed shouldn't be fired over Title IX. Now, the team that we saw last night was not well prepared. Not at all. From a coaching staff perspective, let me tell you why. Everybody's saying, oh, the O-line was bad, UCLA blitzed all night long. All night long. I would not be shocked. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I would not be shocked if UCLA sent a blitz on 90% of their defensive plays. Hey, you can't run the football. Well, they're stacking the box and they're blitzing on you. Continue to throw the ball short, throw the ball in the flat, and they got away from that. Every scoring drive that LSU had offensively was Max dumping it off to Kayshon Boutte, a crossing route to Boutte, Trey Palmer, who I thought had a big game, getting Trey Palmer involved. That's how they were moving the football. You got to loosen up that defense, and the play calling didn't do that. The play calling just did not do that. So I thought offensively, UCLA defensively came out and said, you know what, we're going to sit in the house all night long until LSU stops it. Now, I thought that Max at times was really rattled, after that first quarter where he took that big hit right square in the chest. I mean, it was kind of over for him. I thought defensively, everybody do us a favor by hitting a like and share. This podcast is presented by Believe Podcast and GM Barno and Sons, so we greatly appreciate our partners over at Believe and GM Varno and Sons. I thought defensively they didn't bend in the first half. I mean, they gave up some plays, but when your offense, I say this all the time, when you're there, LSU is going to give up points. But when LSU cannot score offensively and put drives together, it's going to be hard for this defense. A lot of people are blaming, for whatever reason, Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks. The safety play was horrendous. Jay Ward getting hurt. I thought Jay Ward played fantastic coming out of the game, but he gets hurt. He goes out. Then Todd Harris comes in. You have 2 blown coverages. Todd Harris gives up, and it's a touchdown. Todd Harris has got to get pulled at some point. They did pull him. They put in Jordan Tolles. He did a little bit better. But I thought early off defensively, LSU did well. Guys, they had 5 sacks and a pick. I mean, don't say the D-line wasn't good, but if you remember, 2 weeks ago, I got hammered on my own show by people when I said that I was worried about the defensive line when it comes to rush defense. The last time that we had saw 307 yards on the ground. So yes, I was never sold that this defensive line was completely fixed. And I told you that 2 weeks ago. I told you that when I went to the practice. They did get after the passer, but you can't give up 307 yards on the ground. A lot of people talking about linebacker play. I thought Damone Clark played a really good game when it comes to filling the holes. Go back and watch it. Damone Clark saved you probably 4 or 5 times for runs breaking out, and UCLA scoring. At some point, the D-line, when it comes, you got to get penetration. So, but I thought, in a nutshell, to start off the game, they played good. They played good. They got off the field, but you got to score. You got to give your defense a freaking chance. When you give up 7, when you're holding teams multiple times and you're holding them to punts and not field goals, you got to capitalize. You got to capitalize on the fact that the other team's punting. Horrendous, man. DMT says that the safeties were horrible. Tolles was trash as well. Mark Chambers says running game came of goose egg. Well, look, if UCLA did this, UCLA stacked the box and sent pressure all night long. So if they're gonna stack the box, for example, the first run there. So now what? If they're going to stack the box and send pressure, you got to be all. Who cares that you're dinking and dunking? Everybody was talking about the O-line. Now, where I'm going to get on the O-line's ass was they did not get a push. Now, that's on their ass. And I've defended them, and I've said that they're better. But let me say this, because all week this week, you are going to hear the O-line is trash. Guys, let me tell you this. Go back and watch the game, and if you watched it, you know that UCLA sent pressure all night long. 5 guys can't block 7. If you're going to put 4 and 5 guys in routes, and you're going to let 5 guys protect, and there's, like, I'm watching highlights of the game this morning, the 2 times Max is throwing, you got 5 guys blocking and 7 guys blitzing. Somebody's got to be open. Somebody has to be open. Now let's get to Max. I thought that Max played a very timid game. I thought that he played, he didn't play loose at all. The kid that we saw in Florida was not the kid that we saw in LA at all. And I don't know. I mean, it was tough, man. Michael Ray says Brian Thomas Jr., Jenkins, Besh, and Boutte are your starters. Rotate Key and Palmer and Cole. Well, I thought that had the wide receivers dropped some really tough passes, and they got to come up with those passes. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall, and 19 all come up with those catches. Jeray Jenkins, Kayshon Boutte, Trey Palmer all have to come up with those catches. But what do you want Trey Palmer to do? You know, for example, the RPO. Where was that last night? The first RPO from scrimmage, or first RPO LSU ran, Max pulls it, he tucks it, he throws it to Trey Palmer, and he misses him. I mean, and bad by like 3 or 4 feet. I mean, set your feet and throw it. He just seemed rattled. I don't think Trey Palmer was not the problem at all. Now, I do think that they'll get things fixed. Here's the good thing. I think that LSU will get things fixed, but last night you got your asses punched right in the mouth, and UCLA showed who the more physical team was, without a shadow of a doubt. DMT says corners balked besides Stingley on that last play. Even Flott made plays. Look, they didn't come after Stingley. And, I mean, outside of the end of the game, I don't remember a time that they attacked Derek Stingley. And UCLA did not have weapons on the outside to where they could attack him. Michael Bergeron said Kayshon was the only positive. Well, he did have some critical drops. He did have some critical times where he should have come up with passes. We remember that third down. Look, the ball was contested, but you got to make that catch, man. Big-time players make those catches. Matt Guidry says, I highly doubt Miles would have did any better. No, and here's where people, we're going to start talking about Orgeron. We're going to start talking about we're going to start talking about, Orgeron meddling. Orgeron did not meddle in the offense or defense last night. That's on Durante Jones, and that's on Jake Peets. The only thing that Ed probably meddled with is telling Max Johnson and Jake Peets that Max Johnson can't run the football. Guys, where was the quarterback run? I get that you got a backup quarterback, but it doesn't, or a true freshman backup quarterback, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're getting your asses kicked. Everything goes out of the window when you are getting your asses kicked. When you are losing, whatever you gotta call to win the football game. That's how this works. So this whole bullshit about we can't run Max, we can't run the RPO because we don't want to, hurt our quarterback. I get it. Tell him to get down, tell him not to take unnecessary hits. But I thought the play calling offensively was horrid. I didn't like it. For example, there was a time where Garrett Dellinger came in the game as the other tight end. What was that about? You ran the ball 3 straight times. What is that about? I thought it was horrid. Putrid. Todd says, why is everyone in panic mode? It's week 1. Because you lost to a team you shouldn't have lost to. At the end of the day, at the very end of the day, LSU still has more talent. Which is disheartening. UCLA not being able to, DTR struggling to complete passes, and you're losing. Derek says trying to recreate Joe Brady offense is getting old if they want to just hire him as head coach. Well, it is getting old. Brian brings up a good point. Tackling, man, it's why this team, again, I'm going to go back and watch it. I thought the defense, again, still played really well in the first half. LSU was always going to give up points. Guys, you can't not give up points in today's society. The offense didn't score, and they kept kicking field goal. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more of these comments. Dakota Harper brings up a good point. Where was Mike Jones? I have no idea. But let me tell you what Mike Jones isn't. Who Mike Jones? He's not worse than Baskerville in coverage last night. He wasn't worse than Navantique Strong, Bug Strong in coverage last night. I mean, at what point do you say, hey, your best, they've called him the best cover linebacker on the team. Well, where in the hell is he? Where in the hell is he? Don't give me that he can't pick up the defense, because nobody in the linebacker position right now outside Damone Clark is picking up what the hell you're doing. So I really don't want to hear that. I'm tired of the excuses from Ed. Now, speaking of Ed, I'm probably going to say something that I might regret. Fire Ed. Again, go watch all my old shows. Go watch all my old shows where I say, and basically, not trying to defend. I was defending Ed in Title IX that you can't fire him. By the way, if you fire Ed for Title IX, so everybody's going to be talking about fire Ed, Title IX this, Title IX that. If you fire Ed for Title IX, you don't want to open up those can of worms. I've always said the day comes where on the field shit gets bad and we got to talk about it, Well, Ed's on the proverbial hot seat. Ed is on the hot seat. And in his own words, said that this was the biggest preseason or biggest week 1 game that he's ever had. Well, you know what, Big Daddy? You lost it. You lost it. All that shit you're talking, all this shit's cute and fun and funny when you're winning. When you're losing, it's not funny and cute anymore. So Ed's going to have to ride this ship. Ed, look, you got Central Michigan, Magnet. You got to get these 3 wins, man. You got to get these 3 wins because SEC play is not going to let up. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Every single team on planet Earth, if they're playing LSU, all they're going to do all night long now is send pressure. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? So if LSU's play calling can't deal with getting blitzed all night, teams are going to send it. Bundy says should have used the tight ends and slot receivers to throw right behind the linebackers to keep them honest. Play calling was horrible. I thought Jake Peets had a horrible game. Horrible game. You got to keep dinking and dunking it down the field if it's going to work. Like you guys remember the 2 plays where Josh Williams, shout out to Josh Williams, but Josh Williams catches the balls in the flat, gets 9 and 10 yards, you get a first down. Those 2 drives, LSU would go down and score. The two drives where Trey Palmer was catching the ball, quick hitches, RPOs right in the slot, was getting first downs. Guys, at what point do you get away from that? If they want to continue to send pressure, what are you getting away from it for? Loosen the defense up. Craig Shane says yes. After the first couple of pops, Max would backpedal instead of stepping up in the pocket when he got pressure. And guys, that was all night long. That was all night long. And it just seemed like he was extremely rattled all night long after taking that first hit. All right, let's get to a couple more. Paul Escon, shout out to Paul. Let me watch the game last night. Guys, I will tell you this. The reason I didn't do a show last night is we had to re-evacuate from our house. Guys, I'm just so tired of this hurricane stuff, man. I'm so tired of it. I could puke. Paul says Todd Harris should never play another down other than special teams. Guys, I thought what opened the game up for UCLA was the 2 blown coverages from Todd Harris. Going back and watching it, Todd Harris is not good. Guys, I'm sorry. Todd Harris is not good. And I hate to call kids out like that, but at what point do we continue to see over the 3-year span that Todd Harris continues to blow coverages? Like, when does that stop? And then when Jay Ward goes down, God bless him, you bring in Todd Harris. Like, you've been talking about Derek Davis. I get that Sage Ryan's out, but you got to figure something out there. You got to figure something out because that kid's not the answer. That kid is not the answer. Carlton Cisco says, first rule of Fight Club, you got to run the football. The second rule of Fight Club is you got to stop the run. Well, Carlton, I don't necessarily agree with that. Okay, so I don't necessarily agree with that, especially in the first one, meaning I do believe it defensively. That's in today's game. You got to do that. But but man, if they're going to stack the box and they're going to blitz you all night long, what do you think the running game's going to do? Guys, again, I would not be shocked if 95% of UCLA's defensive snaps they blitzed. Guys, 5 guys cannot block 7. That's not how this works. So you want to try the O-line. Look, I'll call them out. Matt Moscona, Jordy Collada, all those guys are going to call out the offensive line. But what scheme and real football teaches us is 5 guys can't block 7. You want to talk about the O-line? I'll give you that they didn't get good penetration. But you got to continue to call the game where if they're going to send the blitz and they're going to send the house at you all night long and you can't run the football, throw the ball out in the foot. That's what made Joe Brady so goddamn good. So goddamn good. Hey, you want to stop the run? Sounds good. We'll throw it to Clyde in the flat. That's what made LSU so dangerous in 19. But, look, that to me showed me, like we talked about Jake Peets, we talked about Durante Jones, which I'm going to be honest, until the second half when the defense started to break, I thought Durante called a really good game. Like, for example, the Elias Ricks interception, brilliant. Show man, when the ball snapped, break out in zone, interception. Good play call. LSU got to DTR with 4 guys. They didn't send a lot of pressure. So here's the thing, and the thing that I kept thinking about last night. Durante Jones and Ed Orgeron kept saying all off season that we're going to be an aggressive send pressure defense. LSU didn't blitz all night long. So on the opposite side, where UCLA sent the kitchen sink at LSU all night long, LSU didn't do it. And UCLA showed you what they thought of Max Johnson last night. Like, hey, if we hit him one good time, I think he's going to be done. And they sent it. They kept sending it. Diedrich Welsh says offensive line is so poor. Again, somebody in the comments tell me this. If you're going to if 7 guys, see, I put this on Twitter all last night. If you're going to send 7 guys, one time I saw 8 guys. If 7 guys are blitzing or 7 guys are coming after the passer, how do you expect 5 guys to block that? Somebody explain, because if you think I'm going crazy, then explain it to me. Again, if you're going to send blitzes in the running game, guys, you can't get a hat on a hat if you're going to send pressure all night long in the blitz. Let's get to a couple more comments. We'll get to Ed. Because I'm probably going to tee off on Ed. Joseph says we're getting out coached. So this is where I'm going to get on Ed and get on his ass. I think Ed is actually. I don't think he is over his ski. I'm taking criticism. Ed Orgeron's taking criticism. Everybody who picked LSU is taking criticism. But I think for Ed, the time for talking is not now anymore. Like at this point, you got to shut the hell up and go out there and win. You got to figure it out. And the coach being the motivator and the CEO is not winning right now. Guys, in the last 11 games, LSU is 5-6. Let me say that again. Over the last 11 games, LSU is 5-6. I've made excuses about, look, guys, it was a COVID year. And look, this isn't me just saying this. Goes Georgia Clemson, that score being 10-3 or 10-0, whatever it was. It was a really goofy week 1. But it doesn't matter. Great teams find ways to win. People made fun of Alabama and Bill O'Brien. Well, Miami's overrated. Well, guys, the truth of this all is, and you don't want to hear it, but the truth, Alabama's always good because they're the most prepared and the best coach. They're the best prepared and the best coach. That is the bottom line. And they got the athletes that can do it. So from an Ed Orgeron perspective, you're on the hot seat now, Big Daddy. There's no defending you at this point. Title IX, yeah, I'll defend you because you can't just say fire a coach like Moscona's been doing when you got Gloria Scott extorting somebody for money. That still is on the table. You can't have that happen. So let's let cooler heads prevail here. But when it comes to on the field, you can't let this shit happen. You're on the hot seat. And here's the positive news. A lot of people saying, well, LSU won't pay the money to fire him at the end of the season. Bullshit. Scott Woodward ain't going to play this game. Scott Woodward's looking for reasons. Now, I love Ed, and I love Ed and company, and I love the staff. I love the coaching staff. You know, I shouldn't say love. I respect them. But Scott ain't going to play that game with your ass. I thought that this team could go 10-2. You better find. I don't know. I don't see another 10 games that they can win. Not right now. But look, LSU. Funny enough, LSU and Ed Orgeron has done stupid shit like this before. And look, you got to give you. Let's not blame it all. You got to give UCLA credit. You got to give Chip Kelly credit. Look, that is what. So. Everybody makes fun of Chip Kelly. They had 22 seniors on the team, a really well-coached team. That's what a really well-coached team looks like. Understand what I'm telling you. A really well-coached team took kids that had no business beating LSU and beat them. That's what a really well-coached team looked like. And all night, UCLA just knew what the hell they were supposed to do. They knew what they were supposed to do. And Chip Kelly never got away from his guns. If you remember in the first quarter, they tried to start the running game. They couldn't get it going. Chip Kelly stayed with the running game. He kept calling it, knew that eventually it would work, and it did work. Relied on his defense. Charles Reese from the Primetime Podcast says Bug Strong didn't look good either. No, he did not. No, they did not. Logan says Brent Venables incoming. Well, Brent Venables, you know, and look, we're going to talk about a lot of these coaches. I think it's a little premature, you know, to do that because look, we got a long season to go. But like as Kenny says, this is Gene Chizik all over again. Gene Chizik did not beat or did not do what Ed has done against top 25 teams and top 10 teams. You know, we always like to compare. Joseph says Joe Brady isn't walking back through that door. You guys need to get over that. Who needs to get over it? Look, Ed's criticism. Ed's gonna have to take the criticism that he's in the shadow of Joe Brady. That's on Ed. That's not on LSU. Ed was the one who hired DJ Mangus and hired Jake Peets and said that he wanted Joe Brady back. That's not on LSU or LSU fans. That's on Ed. Ed's got to make that wrong right. Brandon Reese says if Woodward moves on from Coach O, he better find a good replacement similar to Jay Johnson and Kim Mulkey. Guys, I have no worries whatsoever that Scott Woodward would find the right guy. Jimbo, Chris Peterson, Kim Mulkey. The guy hires whales, man. I mean, he's a whale hunter. I ain't worried about that. Darren says too much rah-rah from coming from Coach O, and I'm sick of it. Well, Darren, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. And here's the thing, and I probably shouldn't say this, and you know LSU's probably going to get pissed off at me, but I really don't give a shit at this point. I'll tell you this: the stuff that they were running in scrimmage, the team that I saw in the scrimmage and on film was not the team that I saw last night. And look, was it because you were displaced because of a hurricane? Was it because of, this factor? Was it because of that factor? I don't know that. I don't know that. And it's something that I think we got to take into account. Look, this team has been displaced for a week. A lot of things we got to, come into factor. But I'm just telling you this, and I'm going to look right here when I say this. Look at me when I'm telling you this. The team that was in those scrimmages and the play calling and shit like that was not the team you saw last night. I promise you that. Been there, seen it. So, why in the hell they got away from half the stuff that they were doing, I don't know that. Dale Broussard says Scott Woodward making phone calls this morning. Well, he ain't making phone calls. He's receiving phone calls. Scott's getting, boosters are on his ass. So, no, he ain't making no phone calls. He receiving very mad phone calls. Look, people have already flipped on that. Like last night, me and my wife were having to come, back to her sister's house just because having to leave our own home after the game, which is, guys, I can't take it anymore. That's it. That's on personal note. Guys, pray for us. I beg you. It's been a rough week. I don't know. I had a very angry phone call from a booster last night that I did not expect coming. I did not expect coming. I mean, wasn't just mad. Well, he went, and I don't even know if he was mad. He was embarrassed. And people that got that cheddar, when they get embarrassed, that's when your ass is really on the hot seat. Brandon says LSU is just not a good football team. I hate to say it, but it's just true. Here's the thing, though, man. Here's the thing. LSU still has the talent. Like Kayshon Boutte doing what he did last night, Jeray Jenkins, Trey Palmer. I mean, look, they have the talent. I think Max is still a good quarterback. They had the talent. At the end of the day, that UCLA had no business with the talent that you had on that field. Guys, LSU had 4 sacks in the first half. So the D-line, let's not say that they can't get pressure, because that defensive line did get pressure. At the end of the day, you got out-coached. At the end of the day, you got out-schemed. And at the end of the day, Chip Kelly made you look like a tier below him, which you are. Chip Kelly outcoached Ed Orgeron and company. That is the bottom line. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no other excuses. You got outcoached. You're not good. You're not better than him right now. And it showed. Diedrich says they hit max no matter how many they sent. That's not true. We never dominated the line of scrimmage. That's also not true. This is a line with 5 seniors. You can only make so many excuses. We got some of those young guys in there. That's not true. Diedrich, I'm not trying to be rude, but that's not true. Again, when you're seeing pressure 90 to 95% of the time, 5 guys can't block 7. Again, when you're able to throw the football, I wish that we still had the studio and I could post. I'll post film for you if you want to. Example, the touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. UCLA sent 8. I remember Paul Escon, who's in the comments, who's watching the show, can remember. I'm counting it. They sent 8. Austin Deculus is holding on to 2 dudes. 2 dudes. Chason Hines passes off to Liam Shanahan. I mean, when you send 8 guys, you got to be able to complete the short passing game to loosen them up. If that's what they want to do, again, nobody in this chat, at least to what I've seen, has explained to me what you do as an offensive line when they send 7 and you have 5. You want to continue to make that argument. Bottom line, Jake Peets got out-schemed. He got out-coached. His inexperience came to the forefront last night and not knowing what to do. So when we talk about Joe Brady and we talk about 19, there's one individual man that he had there to tell him, hey, this is what I do. Want to make fun of Slinger, man? Maybe it's not always as bad as you think it is. Get a couple more of these. Joseph says the Cajuns might be the best team in the state. They're not the best team in the state. I'm not going there. Paris Scott, interesting question. How Emory have academic problems now? Why didn't Connor play? Let me get to the Corey Connor. The Corey Connor thing, I have no idea. Amari Goodwin, per Dandy Don, had academic problems or something like that. There's no way because he hasn't been in school. Paris, I don't know. You know, let me say it like this. Per NCAA rule, if you have an academic issue, you can't be on the sideline. So if he was academically ineligible for whatever reason, why was John Emery on the sideline last night? I don't know how much I believe that. I'm not saying Danny Don is wrong. Let me back up. I'm not saying Danny Don is wrong. What I'm saying is it's hard for me to believe that. And if it is, it is hard for me to believe that. But John Emery, you know, you needed him last night. Why Corey Connor didn't play, I don't know. Guys, I don't know. That's what you need to ask Ed. That's what you need to ask Kevin Falk. That's what you need to ask a lot of these guys. Jared says it's hard to be brutally honest, but you're correct. Which part? Brand says thank you for telling the truth about Coach O. Well, look, again, I got a video or a show from last week where I talk about Ed and saying literally, and I went to go find it this morning. I literally said, and I've continuously said, you can't fire Orgeron for Title IX because the worms that you open up would be absolutely unreal. You can't fire a coach for cause and think that the NCAA and the SEC and everybody else won't come down on your ass. So you want to stick on that. You want to talk about Gloria Scott extorting LSU. That's fine with me. But I'm not going to fire a man on something he did not do. Now, what he didn't do is win last night. And I've always said if the day comes where he's getting his out-coached and getting his ass beat on the field, that's something that we can talk about. And that's today. Like that's today. But look, LSU has found ways to respond and win. Troy lost. They've lost worse games, in my opinion, at LSU and have responded. So I'm not, I'm not trying to call the man saying that he shouldn't have the season. Look, we got a long season, but you got to correct this shit. Chad says, had all off season to be prepared for this game. How do you come out and look like shit? They got out coached. I don't know how many times that, here's another way to explain. So, for example, you can't run the football because UCLA's stacking the box and blitzing you all night long. The pressure's getting through because they're sending so much pressure. I still don't see a comment. Where, like, I'm looking through these comments. And Lamar brings up a good point. Max left 4 touchdowns on the field. That he did. Holden, I'll get to that comment. But again, I'm looking for someone to Paris. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Guys, you can send super chats and stars on Facebook. I'm looking through the chat. Again, no one in here is explaining to me, and no one in here will explain to me what you're supposed to do when UCLA stacks the box and you're supposed to send pressure. You know what you're supposed to do? And what we did even at Southeastern. You got to throw the ball quick. You got to get the ball out in the flat. They don't want to if they want to do that, You got to scheme your guys open and loosen this defense up, because what's going to happen is, guess what happens? You start completing passes, short passes, quick slants, balls in the flat. They're going to back out in coverage. They're not going to send pressure. So, for example, if you remember, the first 2 runs in the second half, Ty Davis Price got 8 yards and then got 7 yards. So to go down to Holden's comment for that I just brought up, where's Holden's comment? Where's Holden's comment? I'm missing it. Screen passes. Let's see. So he says, how many rushing yards we had again? Question mark. That is the underline. That's the question that everyone will continue to ask. Well, Blake, you got to be able to run. Yeah, you got to be able to run the football. Again, what do you want them to do when they're scheming against and going all? It's not that they are trying to stop the run. Meaning UCLA didn't just try to stop the run. UCLA went full throttle in stopping the run. Full throttle. You can't run the football. And basically what Chip Kelly said, this was the scheme for Chip Kelly last night. Hey, Jake Peets, they say that you're a good play caller and you've never called plays before. I'm going to die. I've told my defense to send pressure all night long, and you have to adjust. He didn't. Neither did Ed, neither did DJ, none of them. Getting on Max. For example, if you remember the touchdown pass he missed to Trey Palmer, Jack Bech was wide open in the flat, he missed. You got to hit Trey Palmer in stride. Wide ass open. Throwing off your back foot doesn't work. Doesn't work. Paris sends us $4.99 on Super Chats. Paris, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. He says, I think our new coaches just got hit in the mouth, but great coaches adjust. And I agree with that. Thank you very much for the Super Chat. It means a lot that we're displaced right now, and you're doing that. Thank you. C. King, my good friend, what's up, brother? He says, we are a soft football team. That's why there's so many injuries. Hey, man, he ain't wrong. C. King ain't wrong there, man. We ain't tough right now. And the truth is, I don't know if you had that Devin White leader that's going to say, hey, bro, y'all soft as hell. I saw the comment about people saying they miss Dave Aranda. DMT says, Blake, stopped saying that linebackers didn't respect the run at all, so they had the means to play with the blitz packages. DMT. So let me reread this, and I'm going to... Blake, stop saying that linebackers didn't respect the run. They're going based off a call that the defensive coordinator gave them. What do you mean they didn't respect the run? If you're blitzing all night, that's not a call that the linebackers did. What do you mean they didn't respect the run? And then he says the run at all, so they had the means to play in the blitz packages. That's not a linebacker thing, though, DMT. That's not a linebacker thing. That's a coaching thing. That's a scheme thing. It's not a player thing. Myers 512 says Bech looked like he was going to be it, and then we went away from him. Yeah, I don't know why they went away from him. You know, another thing too, why they went away from Brian Thomas. I mean, I thought Brian Thomas did one good catch, and then remember the penalty where they pulled the back of the helmet. Like I don't know. Here's a good question. Ryan Mayer says, Blake, why did LSU go 12 personnel and max protection? Yes, quick passes and screens is the answer. Well, they did that on one drive, and they brought in Garrett Dellinger, a freshman tackle, to play tight end. I don't know. I guess because they, you know, my first reaction is that they had no faith in in Max to get the ball out where it needed to go. And look, Max didn't get the ball where it needed to go all night long. He looked piss poor last night, y'all. And they're going to have to respond. Logan says, start hitting quick slants behind the linebackers and make them respect you. Bingo. That's the only way to... Example. What about Keyshawn Boutte's, what was it, second touchdown? What was that? So you want me to explain, and DMT says stop saying that. Again, that's what you have to do. The Keyshawn Boutte, quick slant, catch and run, that's what you have to do when they send the house. The very next series, UCLA loosened up, backed out in coverage, Ty Davis Price had that 8-yard run. That's what you have to do. So I don't really, look, the O-line has got to get vertical. They got to get push. Where I'm going to get on their ass is they didn't get enough push. I thought that they were putrid, and I thought that they were really bad at getting push. I'll give you that. Really bad at getting push. Again, I'm not going to come off what actually happened in the game when they're not doing that. Let's see. Tedrick says, we trash, can't win without a running game. Overhyped us. You overhyped us bad. Well, then me and everybody else. So, look, this has been all night long. Everybody wants to get on my ass about me overhyping. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you want to call me out, I'll take my lumps. Where I'm going to take my lumps is where I thought that LSU would come out and physically dominate. I was wrong there. And I'm going to continue. Look, guys, I do a show 5 days a week. I'm going to be wrong. Where I'm not wrong, though, is that LSU still has more talent than UCLA. There's nobody on that field. There's nobody on that field better than Keyshawn Boutte and Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks. So let me ask you this. And quite honestly, in the scrimmages, they didn't run what they ran in the scrimmages, what they ran in this game. So let me ask you this. If you got Derek Stingley, Elias Ricks, Jay Ward, Keyshawn Boutte, Max Johnson, why in the hell am I not going to look at it and say, well, damn, they're doing really good? They didn't attack. UCLA did not go at Derek Stingley not once until the end of the game. Let's see. Paris sends us another $4.99 on Super Chats. Thank you. And says, rotation is horrible just like last year. Wide receivers and running backs ride with the hot hand. Max wasn't good. She ain't wrong, y'all. She ain't wrong. I mean, she ain't. And I'll even give an example. And look, I'm not trying to get down on TDP, but why are you taking Josh Williams out when he gets you 2 plays of 10 yards plus? Like, what are you doing there? And then Ty Davis Price, he had the ball, he had that catch out in the flat and put his shoulder down, got the first down. Guys, if you can't run the football, you got to do that. But I did think rotation was pretty bad. She ain't wrong. Michael Ray says, y'all keep saying Max was scared to get hit. It's because he was getting hit. Well, you know who else was getting hit? Joe Burrow. Good quarterbacks can take the hit. And here's another thing Max didn't do. Look, I get that you don't want to take hits, but at some point, you got to be able to read the coverage. You got to be able to get the ball out. When you're hit, look, you know what stops that, Michael? You know what stops that? When you're running an RPO and you miss Trey Palmer for a touchdown, if you convert that, that shit stops. It stops. There is no more. That's not going to happen anymore. So understand, you want it to stop, step up in the pocket, deliver the ball, I guarantee you they're going to stop. Because they don't have a choice at that point. And if they want to continue to send the blitz, you're going to continue to score. Stay off your back foot, fire the ball, and you'll be fine. Let's see. DMT, I'm not getting to that because it's not true. All right, we'll take a couple more and we'll go about 10 more minutes. Carl Dunn says, that wasn't the same QB1 at Florida. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Not that we saw. I'm not going to say the word, but Buck says, what the freak? Coach O going on, he gots to go. Well, that's going to continue to go. And look, I'm surprised we haven't had this yet in the comments. Don't come at me with Garrett Nussmeier time. Don't come at me with that. Winnie White says, Blake Ruffino, which is me. I guess you tagged me. If we don't play good this week, Coach O's son will kick our ass. Well, Here's the thing. I shouldn't say they're not going to. But if you want Edwards run out, you better hope McNeese beats our ass. Because let me tell you this. If we get beat by McNeese, Ed's fired. LSU gets beat by McNeese next week, Ed's fired. No doubt. Michael Ray says, you're right, but he ain't Burrow. Well, then it is what it is. Okay? But you got to tell him, look, you want the pressure to stop. It's like it's like a boxer, right? Like, hey, you want to stop getting punched so many times? Fire one back and punch him. You know, Mike Tyson always says the great saying, you don't know how people react until they get punched in the face. Punch them right in the face. Go out there and score. Make a good throw. But, again, their game plan was just, I thought that UCLA executed their game plan very well. Ray says, I think the problem is at the top. We were ill-prepared and absent-minded. Talent isn't the question. I hope that staff can evaluate this loss and fix the issues. Well, you don't have a choice now. The talent is there. I don't agree with that. DMT says Max played better than some projected quarterbacks around the country. No, he didn't. Not last night he didn't. I mean, he played timid. He played tight. No, he didn't. He was shook. Arlen says Ed's not even able to use the locker room to change if they lose to McNeese. Well, I don't think that they will, but I shouldn't say that. They got a lot to fix this week. What I want to see them do is if, this is what McNeese, I already know what McNeese is going to do next week. McNeese is going to send the pressure. Why not? Holden Lee says Todd Harris, Damone Clark shouldn't be on the field. No, I don't agree with Damone Clark. Again, go back and watch the game. Damone Clark saved you like 4 times from runs, going in other people's gaps. Bug Strong, there's a reason Micah Baskerville got pulled for Bug Strong. I thought Damone Clark played well. I thought there were times he was out of position. But, again, here's the problem with that. We talk about the linebackers, and I mentioned this all night long, or all season long. Everybody wanted to convince me that this defensive line was going to be the best in the nation and dominate, and I personally thought that they could. And that's on me. That's where I was wrong. I thought that they could have one of the best, if not the best, D-line in the country. That's where I was wrong. I also said, though, that I was worried about them because the last time we saw them, they gave up 307 to Ole Miss. You want your linebackers to be able to fly to the ball, you got to have good D-line play. It's not just, oh, well, the linebackers are trash. Well, guys, when the offensive lineman's getting to the second level, that's not on the linebacker. Understand what if an offensive lineman's getting up to the linebacker, who do you think that's on? Brandon says it's time to stop trying to copy 2009. I agree. Ronald says strength and conditioning, Coach Moffitt, time is done. Now, look, all I'm going to say is this. I think it's time to read this comment and take it into consideration. I think it's time to read this comment and take it into consideration. All right, we'll get to 3 more and we'll get on out of here. Jack says Thomas Jr., Besh looked like they were ready, but they didn't go back after the first quarter. Yeah, Besh did, and Brian Thomas did. They just didn't get them the ball. They were out there. Ryan Thibodeau says behind the back pass. See, I didn't even talk about that. When Max is trying to get rid of the football, you know how I know that Max played timid and he didn't play loose? The whole pass behind the back, and thank God Jeray Jenkins was there. You guys, you can't have that happen. And here's another thing. Max did not use his strengths well. Where was him trying to get out the pocket? Where was him trying to run the football? That's where Ed tampered. So I'm not going to, that's on Ed. Telling the kid that he can't run when you're getting beat. That's that's where the shit really hit the fan. All right, two more. We can get out of here. Paris sends us another super chat. Thank you, Paris. I really appreciate your hospitality. She says Ed has to get out of the mindset of 2019, find a system that works for our current players. Take what the defense gives you. The conditioning was horrible. Again, she ain't wrong. I mean, that's a great way to characterize that. I mean, she is right. We do have to stop. He has to stop talking about 19. 19's over with. This whole Joe Brady thing's over with. Yeah, DMT, we're good. If somebody's arguing with DMT, I mean, if somebody wants to, I'd rather you argue with me. That helps. I mean, me and DMT are cool, man. We're cool. We're cool. We don't have to agree on everything. Reginald says we're not a physical team. Not at all. We're not at all. Brandon Reese says they better beat McNeese convincingly or Coach O is probably gone the next week. Look, let me say this. Everybody's is going to talk about money too. And that LSU can't fire Ed because of money. Well, with all due respect, then LSU is no better than Auburn. Because Auburn spent the money to get the coach that they wanted and get him out of there. So I'm so tired of hearing about money and that people don't have it. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. All right, let's see. My man's got COVID though. All right, guys, we will see y'all later. We'll be back Monday to break this, or tomorrow to break this down, Labor Day, and continue to break it down and go from there, man. I want to get to this. I saw this. This is a pretty good one. Hold on. Billy says Joe Burrow would have thrown for 600 against that blitz every play defense. He's not exactly. I mean, God bless it. God bless it. Paris says stay till 11:15. I can't. It's hot out here. Can't wait to get back in the studio. All right, guys, we will see y'all soon. Hopefully LSU can remedy all this and get back on the practice field and correct their wrongs. But we will see you guys soon. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good day.